Hi guys, I hope you're all well. In this video I wanted to discuss one of these principles I was discussing in my podcast this week, and that principle is trying to achieve muscle gains and fat loss simultaneously. Now, with the exception of a handful of scenarios, it really is much more optimal to focus on one goal at a time, either building muscle and or losing body fat. Now, that being said, there's a couple of different scenarios where you can build muscle and lose fat simultaneously to a reasonable degree. However, for most individuals, it's better to focus on one goal at a time. So those scenarios are the following. The first one would be an absolute beginner, a beginner to weight training. Their first few months of weight training, they'll see some muscle gains and fat loss simultaneously. The second example would be a drug-assisted trainee, so someone using anabolic steroids could also achieve muscle gains and fat loss to any significant degree. The third example would be someone returning from a layoff, so someone that has some reasonable amount of weight training experience. They've then taken several months off weight training for whatever reason, because of injury, etc. And then they've returned back to weight training. They should see some muscle gains and fat loss simultaneously to a reasonable degree. However, for everyone else, it really is so much more optimal focusing on one goal at a time. And that is for this key reason. For muscle gains to take place, you need to be in a chronic energy surplus. So you need to be consuming more calories than you're burning. Conversely, for fat loss to take place, you need to be within a extended energy deficit, therefore consuming less calories than you're burning. So those two key components prevent a individual, with the exception of those examples I just gave you, building muscle and fat loss simultaneously to any significant degree. Now, it's important to note, you'll probably see a lot of before and after photos online. You probably think, oh, they've built muscle and lost fat simultaneously. But the reality is they're probably more likely just lost body fat, and because they're leaner, they've obviously got more muscle definition. It creates the illusion they've built muscle within the fat loss phase. The reality is they haven't, they've just got leaner. So here's some practical applications. It's important to note that if you're entering a muscle building phase, that the rate of muscle gain you can achieve will be subject to your training age. And this is for males. For females, it's a little bit different. I'm not going to discuss that in this episode. I'm going to discuss that in another video, because it is slightly different just because they don't have the hormones to build as much muscle mass as a male does. However, if you're a male and you're new to weight training, within that first 6 months of weight training, you should be able to build 2 to 3 pounds of muscle per month. If you're a intermediate, so someone with 6 months to 2 years worth of weight training experience, you should be able to build 1 to 2 pounds of muscle per month. And if you're a advanced trainee, someone with 2 years plus of weight training experience, you really want to be focusing more on gym performance in addition to eating enough to recover from your training without actively trying to increase the weight on the scale. Now, the scale weight should be going up very slowly. However, if you're actively focusing on increasing the scale weight, it's very easy to gain a lot of body fat during this period. So you're really focusing on strength gains, you're focusing on increasing volume over time. So as I discussed within a lot of my other podcasts and videos, volume is the biggest determining factor for increasing hypertrophy, so muscle growth. So as a result, that should be your main focus. Increasing gym performance, focusing on eating enough to recover from. The scale weight should go up slightly, but if you do that over a chronic period of time, so several months and years, you'll see some structural changes. Now, with regards to fat loss, you're really focusing on 0.5 to 1% weight loss per week. Now, the reason why this seemed probably quite slow for some people is we need to make sure we retain as much muscle mass as possible within the fat loss phase. So if you were to go any quicker than this, you're going to lose a lot of muscle and strength within the fat loss phase. So it's more about a slower progressive rate of weight loss, but at the same time it's sustainable. We're not making any drastic changes, but the end result will be retaining much more muscle mass within the fat loss phase. Hopefully you found this useful. The key takeaway is, unless you're a rank beginner, unless you're on drugs, unless you're returning from a layoff, focus on one goal at a time, either muscle gains or fat loss. Now keep in mind there will be some scenarios where you will build muscle and lose fat simultaneously, maybe a short period of time, but as a general rule, with the exception of those scenarios, it is best to focus on one goal at a time, and you'll achieve much greater levels of success doing that. So hopefully you found this useful. I'll speak to you in the next video. Thank you very much.